Hey and very good evening to Professor Binti. We from Group 3 consist me Sola, Nuraina, Hamizah, Poogenes and Anis will be explaining about our topic, which is negotiation in France. France is one of the oldest nations on earth and the most ethnically diverse country in Europe that have 67 million population. These deep and broad influences have made France a world leader throughout history in nearly all aspects of culture, including cuisine, winemaking, politics, philosophy, music, art, film, fashion, literature, and sports. When negotiating with French counterparts, expect bureaucratic, centralized decision-making. Change is possible, but it takes time since traditions come first. Tradition is important in French commercial etiquette, which emphasizes formality during negotiations. Don't try to change the French's harsh attitude. Focus on the deal's topic during discussions. Bringing up family issues can hurt your chances of achieving what you want and alienate your negotiating partners. Answer straightforward and comprehensive inquiries during commercial talks. Your effort and determination will be rewarded since agreements normally take a long time to obtain. Your negotiating partners may seem to be making things more complex than required because they want to ensure all risks are recognized, controlled, or minimized. When your counterparts reiterate their views, you know they won't budge. Logic is the best technique to influence people's minds. Complex marketing approaches or harsh negotiating might offend customers and kill a sale. Complex marketing approaches or harsh negotiating might offend customers and kill a sale. Due to the hierarchical nature of organizations in France, even if you have signed a contract, your partners may come back to renegotiate it after internal deliberations. To speed up talks and minimize middlemen, constantly seek out the top decision maker in the business. Even if intermediates can't make the ultimate decision, treat them with respect. If you insult them, it will be reported, reducing your prospects of successful talks. When you're negotiating, be clear about your deadlines, and make sure your partners know about them if they're important to you. If not, these dates will usually be seen as flexible.
Hello. My name is Poogenes A /Kaliapan. I will explain about bargain behavior. Most of the French are not fond of bargaining and strongly dislike haggling. The bargaining stage of a negotiation can take substantial time, though, with significant time spent discussing proposals and debating the merits of specific terms and conditions. Business people in this country may only make concessions if the logic of their arguments has been defeated. Although the French generally prefer a straightforward negotiation style, they also use deceptive techniques, such as telling lies and sending fake nonverbal messages, misrepresenting an item's value, or making false demands and concessions. The French are very good at pretending to be disinterested in the whole deal or in single concessions, making you feel like a petitioner. Negotiators may sometimes use emotional techniques such as attitudinal bargaining, sending dual messages, attempting to make you feel guilty, grimacing, or appealing to personal relationships. It is best to remain calm and composed, repeating the arguments that support your position, as people may employ defensive tactics such as changing the subject, blocking, asking probing or direct questions, making promises, or keeping an inflexible position. All of these are used against them as well. Corruption and bribery are rare in France, though not completely unheard of. Both legally and ethically, it is advisable to stay away from giving gifts of significant value or making offers that could disputes are resolved by focusing on logical reasoning and facts. Generally, it can be effective to use surprise or distraction tactics in case of conflicts as a way to get your counterparts to take a different look at the situation.
Next, I am Nuraina and I will be explaining about the negotiation of France decision-making process. The business culture in France is particularly hierarchical. Senior executives typically make decisions and take into account what is best for the group or business. Even though they may consult with others, bosses bear sole responsibility. The persons you're interacting with may be merely middlemen. Nonetheless, they may significantly impact the ultimate decision, so attempt to get their assistance. Getting access to senior executives might be tough. Besides, the French may scrutinize every aspect before making a decision. As a result, decision-making in France is a highly slow and methodical process. On the other side, it is common practice to work around rules and regulations when necessary. This frequently necessitates the assistance of a powerful contact who is prepared to assist. Most of the time, when French business people make decisions, they look at the specific situation instead of applying general rules. Evidence from the real world, logical arguments, and objective facts are much more important than feelings and personal experiences. Therefore, French people tend to be risk-averse and unwilling to try new things. If you want them to support a risky decision, you may need to find ways to make them feel comfortable with it first. For example, you could explain what will happen if something goes wrong, show them where they can get more help, or give them guarantees that protected businesses are more likely to organize themselves well when their interests are grouped together and their clients are spread out.
Hello, my name is Anis. Now I would like to present about communication style in France. Conversation daily, also in negation routine. What is communication style? Every person has a unique communication style, a way in which they interact and exchange information with others. We continue the way how France communication style using in negotiating for international business. What communication style does the French use? The country's official language is French. However, several other languages and dialects exist. The acceptance of English as the international business language has gone up considerably in France over the past decade or two. Most younger business people speak English, often well. On rare occasions, it can be useful to engage an interpreter. In order to avoid offending the other side, ask beforehand whether an interpreter should be present at a meeting. When communicating in English, speak in short, simple sentences and avoid using jargon and slang. It will help people with a limited command of English if speak slowly, summarize key points, and pause frequently to allow for interpretation. The French consider strong oratory skills an expression of a superior mind. Many of them are therefore uncomfortable and feel clumsy when speaking in a foreign language. Even when the main meeting language is English, counterparts will frequently speak French among themselves, not necessarily to shut you out from the discussion but to reduce their discomfort, and ensure that everyone on the local side shares the same understanding. People will appreciate and remember it if you learned a few basic French phrases. When speak their language, they might frequently correct your mistakes in grammar or pronunciation. Do not take this personally, since their motivation will only be to help you speak their language effectively and look good. If you do not
they
speak
often
any
have heated
French,
debates and
occasionally
occasionally
raise their voices to
but
make
that
a point
fact
will be viewed favorably. French dislike loud and boisterous behavior. They may interrupt each other frequently during their passionate disputes, though intense outbursts are not necessarily signs of irritation or anger, and it can be hard to tell when they are. At restaurants, especially those used for business lunches and dinners, keep conversations at a quiet level. Emotions other than passion are rarely shown in public, and self-control is seen as a virtue. Periods of silence do not necessarily convey a negative message. People in France generally converse in relatively close proximity of around 2 to 3 feet apart. Although the French also value tact or diplomacy, communication can be very direct, and people may frequently question and probe into others' arguments. Logic dominates most disputes, and few things anger a French businessperson more than an ill-conceived or illogical argument. Note that it matters little whether they agree with your point or not. We may actually be able to earn their respect by presenting confrontational ideas and defending language can be extensive. The inevitable debate that follows underline what is being said. It is rarely a good idea to imitate them. The French may make some physical contact, but there is usually not a lot of it. The American OK sign, with thumb and index finger forming a circle, means 0 in France. The thumbs up gesture is positive as it signals approval. Slapping the open hand over a fist is a vulgar gesture. Eye contact should be frequent, almost to the point of staring, as this conveys sincerity and helps build trust. That's all for my explanation. Thank you.
Hello and good day. I'm Hamizah Binti Mohd Ariff from Group 3. I will be explaining about the conflict management in France. But before that, let's explore the top 3 France's culture. That is power distance, individualism and masculinity. First of is France power distance culture. In France, children are raised to be emotionally dependent, to a degree, on their parents. This dependency will be transferred to teachers, and later on to superiors. It is, therefore, a society in which a fair degree of inequality is accepted. Many comparative studies have shown that French companies have normally 1 or 2 hierarchical levels more than comparable companies in Germany and the UK. Superiors have privileges and are often inaccessible. CEOs of big companies are called Mr. PDG, which is a more prestigious abbreviation than CEO, meaning President Director General. Second is France individualism culture. In France, parents make their children emotionally independent with regard to groups in which they belong. This means that one is only supposed to take care of oneself and one's family. Subordinates normally pay formal respect and show deference to their boss, but behind his or her back they may do the opposite of what they promise to do, as they may think that they know better, yet are not able to express so. Employers and trade unions don't really talk together, as they look at each other as almost belonging to a separate species. The need to make a strong distinction between work and private life. We can see that French prefer to be dependent on the central government, an impersonal power center which cannot so easily invade their private life. What is human, but more pronounced in France, is the need for strong leadership in times of crisis. In spite of that, when the crisis is resolved, the president should make space for much weaker leadership. Many French have the need to become a patron, whether as mayor of a small village or as the chairman of the bridge club. Customer service is poor in the eyes of all those Anglo-Saxons who believe that the customer is king. Not so in France. The French are self-motivated to be the best in their trade. They, therefore, expect respect for what they do, after which they are very much willing to serve you well. Third is France masculinity amp, femininity. France is driven by competition, achievement and success, with success being defined by the winner best in field. At face value this may be indicated by its famous welfare system, the 35-hour working week, 5 weeks of holidays per year, and its focus on the quality of life. Besides that, French culture in terms of the model has, however, another unique characteristic. The upper class scores feminine while the working class scores masculine. This characteristic has not been found in any other country. This difference may be reflected by, married couples of high society could go public with a lover without negative consequences, at least certainly in the past. The scandal in the U.S. about Clinton and Lewinsky has never been understood in France. In addition, crime passionnel, i.e. crimes of passion, have always been sentenced very leniently in comparison to other murder trials. From the culture mentioned, we see that French are a Latin people by language and the behavior, and they are passionate, and emotions cannot be ignored, especially in business. Therefore, the best way to interact with France conflict is first, to use emotional techniques, such as attitudinal bargaining, sending dual messages at empting to make you feel guilty, grimacing, or appealing to personal relationship. It is also important for us to remain calm and composed, repeating the arguments that support your position. Second, is the defensive tactics. We can use this tactic to ease distract arguments with them. This tactic include changing the subject, blocking, asking probing or direct questions, making promises, or keeping an inflexible position. Third, do not put off by a blunt, be a good listener, give them the opportunity to make their point, explain why, and express what they want. First is clarify. Using I messages. Use I statements to express viewpoints able to minimize the resistance and deliver clarification of one's ownership. Second, generate. We should foresee or anticipate objections or concerns of others to gain cooperation and generate rapport. Third, decide. We should focus on advancing our interests while addressing other persons' needs, concerns, and interests. Knowing one's interest gives us maneuvering room to decide and come up more options. Fourth, evaluate. Limit setting. Define the parameters of the negotiation means. Avoid other conflicts by establishing and evaluate clear expectations. Fifth, plan and implementation. Communicate the positive or negative plans or implementations and be accountable for results. That's all for my part. Thank you.